you ready? Yes. I'd like to call to order, please, the work session, February 25th. Before we start, I just want to send a little quick reminder to you that we'll have the regular meeting. We'll need to start at 6 p.m. Due to a public hearing we'll have at that time. So we're looking around the table, and we're all here but Joanne, and we will do a formal excuse for her absence at the regular meeting. All right, let's go down to the city staff now. Will present information about the potential changes to the Youth Commission bylaws and structure. Matt Ligori? Are you making it, or are you Mr. Boer?
I was just going to introduce Mr. Matt.
Okay, would you please do that? And that way you can pronounce his name correctly for me. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, as the Mayor mentioned, we're going to talk about some changes to the Youth Commission, to the bylaws, as well as the structure of the Commission. As you all know, we've gone through some pretty significant staff changes in our office since last summer. I started in June, and then our previous council assistant, Parrish, was working with the Youth Commission at the time, and he left a month later, and then we brought Matt on. So I guess the benefits of having some new staff people come in and work on something is that we had a lot of questions, and of course we go to try to find those answers, and that's when Matt and I both kind of realized that those answers weren't all there in print and readily available. So we realized that there's probably some changes to the bylaws that needed to be made so that we knew exactly what those answers were and how the whole process was supposed to work as far as bringing on new members and everything related to the commission. So Matt and I started talking about that right away when we brought him on in September, and then also we heard from several of you who had some issues with the Youth Commission. You know, everybody's been happy with what they've been able to accomplish, but several of you had some ideas as far as different things that they might be able to take on and different things that we might be able to look at as far as what they could do. And Matt and I talked at length about what some of those changes could be, and Matt's done a fantastic job of working through. Is my mic not on? And Matt's done a fantastic job of working through those changes, and not only of the bylaws, but also creating some new duties and some new things that the Youth Commission can take on. So he's going to take you through, Mr. Ligori is going to take you through all those changes tonight that he's worked hard on. So thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Rob. Before I get started, you want to pass me the keyboard so I can advance the slides?
Excuse me, Matt, will you get closer to the mic for us, please?
Sure, my apologies. Mayor and Council, thank you for...
You can take it out, Matt, if it's easier for you to do it with your hand. I think that... How's that? That better?
It's better.
Okay.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today about these proposed changes. Like Rob just said, we've kind of looked at some of these past processes of the Youth Commission to see how we could possibly better the program. And from talking to you guys and getting your input, we've come up with some of the following changes that we'd like to propose to you. And in order to facilitate these changes, there's going to be some proposed changes that we'll have to have you guys approve. One of the main purposes of the Youth Commission is to be an advisory body to the council. In order to better prepare them for this role and to give them a program with more direction, staff has proposed adding an educational component to the commission. This educational component will come in the form of briefings and or presentations by representatives from our various city departments. When appropriate, these briefings can include tours and other demonstrations. Staff had the opportunity to experiment with this educational component last fall when Sandra Healy from our Human Resources Department presented the Crucial Conversations program to the Youth Commission. The Commission provided staff with very positive feedback in response to this briefing. If approved, staff will begin these presentations in August of 2013 once our new commission members are appointed. Youth Commission members will receive 5 briefings a year during their 2-year term. These briefings will include the departments listed on the slide in front of you. So I'll give you a second to review that. In order to facilitate this change and the other changes I will present, staff proposes the following changes to the Youth Commission bylaws.
Can you just repeat that for the people in the audience that maybe can't see? Oh, I guess they can see that up there. Never mind. I think everybody had that view.
Okay, I'll start that point again.
Sorry about that.
To facilitate this change and the other changes, I will present, staff will propose the following changes to the Youth Commission bylaws. The language that has a strike through will be removed, and the language in red will be added under our proposal. In order to indicate the addition of the educational component to the Youth Commission structure, staff proposes the following change to Article 3, Mission and Purpose. Essentially, we are adding a piece to the second paragraph that states, and I quote, participating in educational opportunities to learn about the inner workings of municipal government. Much of the rest of the language will stay the same. I will give you a minute to review the changes that are now shown on the screens, as it's pretty lengthy. Any
Yes,
questions?
Bill.
Do you want to take what? Sharing a mic again. All right. Do you want to take questions in the middle, or you want to wait to the end?
Your preference, whatever you like.
We've already interrupted you. Let's.
Oh, no, I think it's good while you think about the questions to ask them rather than wait.
The Youth Commission is supposed to be advising and informing the mayor and council on issues related to youth and families. But everything that we're having them do is participating in educational opportunities and then having them do something. So the advising council piece doesn't seem to necessarily apply. And since the Youth Commission has come to be, I don't believe they've ever made a recommendation to council.
Not that I'm aware of, but I think, this is my viewpoint of them, that they wanted to be more involved than they were. And I don't think at the end of the day that they learned about city government. And that is supposed to be part of this.
Right.
And so by these categories, that's my reasoning on this, that I think they will be better equipped to come forth with ideas by having background and knowledge of city government. So let Bill finish, and I'll be quiet, and Bill can finish his statement. And
You want to jump in there on that?
Mayor Lord, Councilmember Stipp. Well, the mayor, thanks for answering part of the question for us. But
sorry.
no, we appreciate it. But actually, there's some upcoming opportunities. As you know, the city's working on the general plan. While there isn't a youth actually formally on the commission, there is a lot of potential for input, and we've already talked to Katie Wilkin about how they can be involved in the process going forward. And like the mayor said, the adding these educational components is going to help so much in those areas, whether it's the general plan, the Parks and Recreation master plan coming up, transportation master plan, having them involved in that and providing their input, but having this educational component is going to have that much more value to their input, I think. So.
Right. I'm not talking about that part, because I would agree. There's only one way for them to become effective, and that's educated. But I guess what I'm more driving at is we put a lot of emphasis in this language and in the existing language about them being the advisory body too. And I'm wondering if that's, through all the research that you've done, is that really an effective way of using these folks, or is this more, is it less of a commission and more of a standing committee where it needs to be appointed by council? I don't know.
you know, I sort of remember the conversation we had when we were forming this, and there was a council person that teens were very important to, and that she wanted to make sure that their opinions were given, and that they had some input, and maybe that's where the basis of making sure that we had that statement. And was anybody else here then? Probably not. I was the only one on there. So maybe that was
I'm not suggesting, yeah.
Genesis behind that
Okay.
statement.
And I'm not suggesting any change. I was just more curious if your research as you looked at other youth commissions, if you found that some of them it was less connected to council and more connected to another aspect or whatever. But I'm a supporter of the youth commission. My daughter served on it.
I think
So.
of them. I'm sorry. Were you going to talk, Wally? Wally, it's you have a floor.
I was just going to say that by having the youth commission involved in the general plan, to me they are advising council. They're not verbally standing in front of us, but they're giving their input to the plan, whether it be the parks plan or the transportation plan. And also it gives council a body that we can go to and ask their specific opinions if we have something pending that we feel they need to add input. So I think they're an advisory body to us. We may not use them every day, but we have that mechanism in place, and that's what we want to do. We want them to know they have a direct line to us, and we want to listen to them because they're very important to us.
And Mayor, Councilmember Stipp, I will say too, there, as far as what the other cities do, it varies a lot from city to city. Some cities do it exactly like us, where the council appoints. Other cities, it's not at all a council appointed board. It's more of a community.
Outreach.
A lot of
that they
times,
work on
like
it.
a mayor
Yeah.
advisory commission, where it's just they apply and are appointed by just the mayor or something like that. So it's not always as formal as our commission is, where it's an actual city board or commission. But it does vary a lot. Again, as far as them actually advising the council, I don't know that we want to take it out, because I think those opportunities will come up from time to time. But like Councilmember Campbell said, it probably doesn't happen quite as often with the youth, just because there probably aren't as many opportunities where there's the opportunity for them to provide input as some of the other boards and commissions. But yet, I think there will be those times where the youth perspective is valuable, and at those times we can reach out to them for their input.
Yeah, and I wasn't suggesting removing.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Thanks. I'll go ahead and move along to the next slide. The next slide is Article 4, Section 1, Number of Members. The proposed change to this section pertains to the last sentence. Currently, the Youth Commission bylaws state, the commission shall strive to include high school students from all of the high schools located in Goodyear, as well as private and homeschooled students. Because our districts in Goodyear encompass multiple cities, there is the potential for a student to live in Goodyear, but to attend high school in Avondale. For that purpose, staff proposes to change the last sentence of Article 4, Section 1 to, the commission shall strive to include high school students who reside within Goodyear city limits. Okay. Any questions?
Questions on that one?
The next change I'd like to discuss comes to Article 4, Section 2, Terms of Office. Originally, the Youth Commission was created with both 2-year terms and 1-year terms. The spirit of this idea was to ensure the Youth Commission never had a situation where there was complete turnover. Due to the original structuring of the commission, that objective has been achieved. For example, this May we will have 4 members leaving the commission with 6 remaining. Our bylaws currently allow for 20 members in the commission. Staff proposes we change all terms to 2-year terms starting May 31st and capping the number of appointees to 10 a year. This will continue to ensure the balanced turnover of the commission and will allow us to implement our 2-year educational program for every member. In addition to this change, staff proposes eliminating the last sentence of Article 4, Section 2 that states, commission members cannot serve more than a 2-year term. This will give staff the freedom to allow commission members to reapply on a case-by-case basis if they are not going to be leaving high school in the immediate year. Is there any questions on that slide? Our next slide is Article 4, Section 6, Election of Officers. Currently, Section 6 allows any member to be elected. Staff proposes adding a requirement that the chairperson and vice chairperson be upperclassmen to assume those roles. Staff believes that older commission members will be better suited to assume leadership roles, which ultimately will benefit the entire commission. Additionally, if approved, we plan to implement this change in May of 2014 in order to be fair to our current members who applied under the previous language. Any questions? Our last proposed bylaw change comes to Article 4, Section 8, Rules and Responsibilities. Currently, our bylaws state that commission members sign our city ethics policy. While the policy is thorough, staff proposes adding a requirement that commissioners sign our social media guidelines and also to sign a youth commission code of conduct that staff will work on with council in order to provide additional safeguards that are more targeted to youth. The city ethics policy is a good guideline, but after reading through it, me and Rob felt like it was more targeted to our older commissions, or excuse me, our commissions that predominantly are composed of adults. Thank you.
He's so careful he did that.
Yeah.
Very well done. Very well.
Political science major. So anyways, that's our suggestion on that slide.
Great.
Any questions?
Yes, Jennifer?
Can you hear me? I'll move this over here. I had an opportunity to attend the Youth Commission last week, and I thought it was fantastic. These are great kids. You have a really good connection with these kids, and I think that's really important to make it work, that they feel free in being able to talk and speak up. A couple of the things, you know, when I was first appointed, what helped me the most were all those tours. And I think when you look at it from a teen's perspective, if they do have the knowledge and the education, it will help them understand the things that are important to them and hopefully inspire them to even get involved in government later in life as adults. My question for you is, with the commission, is it too strict of a structure for the teens? Has there been any conversation about that?
Mayor Lord, Councilmember Barber. Me and Rob kind of looked at that aspect of it. We felt that because there's strict attendance policies, what we would do is kind of reform some of the attendance structure, so or I should say meeting structure. There's still going to be formal requirements, but what we're going to do is take our meetings and kind of apply them to the school year's calendar, so that we take a break in June and July when they're out for summer break, and then also for December when they're out for their Christmas break. Under our current bylaws, it states that we only have to meet 8 times a year. So under this proposed change, we don't necessarily have to change the bylaws, and that's why I didn't make a slide for it. But we would like to kind of go with that informal change, just so that we can accommodate the kids as best as possible when they're not in school, when they're most likely to not be able to attend.
Mayor, Councilmember Barber, if I can tag onto that a little bit, I think what you're asking kind of goes a little bit along with what Councilmember Stipp was asking, and that's if this needs to be an official appointed commission through the council, or if it should just be more of a community group that does community service activities and learns about government and that type of thing. That's really, I guess, something that would be up to you guys as a council. I think as far as the advantages of not having it, a commission that's actually appointed through the mayor and council is they do have to follow all the open meeting laws. Now, with doing community service activities, that makes it a little bit tricky to do some of those things, because a lot of them like to, they would send it out via email, hey, we're doing this on this such a day, and they go input back and forth about, maybe the time changes or something like that, or, just doing the different activities. Maybe they plan a social, a community service activity at the last minute. Well, with the open meeting laws, we have to post all those things. So it does make it a little more tricky for some of those, that because of it being so different than a lot of the other boards and commissions. So I mean, we'd be happy looking at the possibility of structuring it in a different way if we just wanted to make it a a youth council that wasn't officially appointed by the mayor and council, and you know, we'd be able to look at ways that you all could still provide a lot of input and be closely involved. But at the same time, I think there's probably some advantages of having it as an appointed commission too. So I really think that's up to you guys for you to discuss, and we'd be happy to look at different alternatives or different options
Wally?
of what we can do.
Well, as you know, Matt, I've met many times with the Youth Commission, and I've talked personally one-on-one with the kids, and they like the structured. Jennifer. They are so honored to be appointed by the mayor, and by the city council. They love being interviewed because it has raised it to an important level to them. They think this is such an honor to be on this commission, and they don't want their time wasted. And we have some very disciplined members of that commission that are gung-ho to be community activists, and they want everyone to get on board with them. And they kind of, I don't want to say discipline themselves, but they kind of watch after each other, and if they think someone's slacking off, they're the ones that tell them you're slacking off. And if you say you're going to come and do a project, we want you there. Matt and Rob have just provided wonderful guidance to them, and the girls think they're wonderful guys, really. I'm sure the guys do too, but the girls really look to them for their guidance, and they're real excited about it. And I would hate for us to not have it as an appointed position right now, unless we cleaned house with all of them and started all over brand new, because we've just now got them where they're really doing well and really happy to be doing what they're doing, and they want to do more. Probably a lot more than what we want them to do, but they're real excited. So,
Joe?
Yeah, to me, if the goal is to get them more involved in local government and actually understand how local government works, part of that process is the open meeting law. So I think it's probably, if you want to educate them and get them to understand how government works and get them more involved, I think there's an advantage of having it full-fledged, appointed by the council, and have them adhere to all the meetings, because then they're actually learning how the government works and what we have to deal with, and then they feel, I believe when they get their recommendations in, they'll feel more empowered as a result of being part of the arm of the city council.
Sherry?
Yeah, I would agree with both what Councilman Campbell and Councilman Pizzillo said. I think having them appointed by the council, it does lead prestige. There's so many organizations out there, National Honor Society, church groups that just do strictly community service, and they're great and wonderful. But I think when you look at the educational and the appointment, these kids are also looking at it for themselves too, because this is something that looks really good on a college application or for further study. So I think when you're appointed to something by your mayor and council, I think that really does add something, and it really kind of gives you that extra step for this type of service, and then what they're going to learn under what you guys have done. I think it's great.
It might produce individual decision making, and that's a challenge on the council, that you just don't go to your entire council behind the scene and discuss something, and so sometimes you're not sure, are you going to be the lone wolf in this? Are you going to be the one that's going to? But you makes you. I think dissect the problem more and research it more and come to terms with it before you come to the table. And that is truly a challenge in not knowing what most of your council members think. Or sometimes you're not even sure what, you only have a segment of the population's opinion. So now you're weighing it on, okay, I only know 4 people have talked to me about it. I don't know what the 60,000 that are left out there. So it does challenge one mentally and emotionally. So I do think that's a good step to maturity. So for that reason, and I do understand on the social end of it, they're so used to technology. So, but I think that we have a public out there that's not disciplined in their Facebook and in their texting and their emails. And I think it's up to the society to start enforcing some of that procedure. And we've gotten so loose at it that I think that's a good lesson for them too. So although it is more difficult on the two of you, we understand that, just like it's more difficult on our staff because we're bound to that. So I kind of agree with the majority of the council members on this.
All right, Mayor and Council, thank you for your feedback. I agree. I think it's we're talking about the educational component of it, and I mean, a lot of people don't realize kind of the whole structure of how a commission works. You know, so this is a great opportunity at an early point of their lives to kind of see the Robert's Rules of Order thing, and they kind of get an idea of how everything sort of goes through the chair. You know, it's a good opportunity to kind of get that, so you're more comfortable with how that all works when you see it out and about in the real world. So,
Well, I think it's
thank you.
just like a new member coming to the council that's never worked in city government. They can be extremely critical from the outside and have all these things they say they're going to do and be and all that. And once they get on the council, they realize that there's a thing called statute and law and everything else that goes on that one has to follow far beyond the city. So it does change everything for one. So I'm done pontificating. Sorry.
Got my point across.
Yeah, I always do.
Thank you,
I got
Mayor and
carried away
Council.
tonight, didn't I?
They did a great job.
Oh.
And before I move on to my last slide, I just want to let you know that before I could bring this to your attention, I had to bring it to the Youth Commission in order for them to approve these proposals. And I can tell you that they were overwhelmingly in favor. They approved these proposed changes 8-0. So they're very enthusiastic about the new program, and they really are excited to see it implemented. And then the last slide I'm going to put up is not going to concern a bylaw change, but it's just some information we'd like to pass along to you. As far as Youth Commission recruitment, right now we only have 10 members, and like I stated earlier, we can have up to 20. I've talked to some of the council members and Mayor Lord, and they indicated they'd like to see staff go out and do a better job of recruiting individuals to apply for the Youth Commission. And a way that me and Rob talked about, a way to reach some of these great applicants was to do outreach to the schools. Through Vice Mayor Osborne's Building Blocks to Great Schools program, I've developed a relationship with some of the principals around Goodyear, and I hope to go ahead and reach out to them and ask them to talk to some of their teachers about identifying outstanding students who are well versed in civics and have been just outgoing to get involved in projects and other school activities that could translate well over to the Youth Commission. So I plan on putting together a flyer in the near future and getting that out to the schools here in Goodyear. As far as advertising goes, we're going to continue what we've done in the past, advertising in Focus and as well as the West Valley View. And that's what we've done in the past, but we'd like to just combine those two aspects and see if we can get some outstanding candidates for the commission.
Good.
Any questions?
Any other questions?
I wanted to just add one thing. We do have a young man that is homeschooled on our commission who is just outstanding. And so we have, it's Carson.
Carson actually is now in a high school. It's a private
good.
school now, but yeah, he was
homeschooled when he
homeschooled,
came
yes.
to us. So I really appreciate you reaching out to the community so that we can reach the homeschool students as well as the charter schools, because we're delighted when they want to come on the commission.
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell.
Well, Matt, congratulations. This was a nice presentation, and I appreciate, Rob, your help into this and coming to this conclusion. I think this, you're all satisfied with all the progress they're making, and I'm excited because I know there were points in times which some of the group was somewhat bored or they weren't sure they wanted to stay with the program, and I think the new look will definitely be inspiring to them, so thanks so much.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, well, with this, I think anything, City Manager, that I need to before I adjourn this meeting? All right, we're going to adjourn this meeting, and the regular meeting will start at 6 p.m. Meeting adjourned.